All right, y'all. Welcome to Fully Armed with Chris Hennessy. Today's episode, we're going to be featuring Drake White from Hokes Bluff, Alabama. This is great, man. Drake is a very inspirational and spiritual guy, super talented, and man, he's just got a great story and fought through some amazing adversity that he'll tell you all about. And got a great new song, and I've got a little bit of investment in this song as well, and you'll know what I'm talking about when we get going. So, here we go, Fully Armed with Drake White.
Welcome to the Fully Armed Podcast with Chris Hennessy. You got your armor on?
All right. Here we are, Fully Armed with Chris Hennessy. That's kind of fun to listen to the little guy right there on the intro. I got my good buddy Drake White here today. Drake, Hokes Bluff, Alabama's very own Drake White. How are you? You good?
So good.
All right, so I'm going to start off by not talking about where you're from and all that stuff. I'm going to start off by talking about the fact that you are the first person to step into this Miss Judy, the armored car that has a state championship under their belt. You're the guy, man.
Well, thank you. I guess so. It seems like another life ago. But,
well, I get that. Yeah,
it does mean a lot. Like I still take stuff with me from that experience of football, and you know, football has kind of got a bad reputation now in a way because of concussions, and right. I get that. I understand that, but the lessons that I learned through football and just team sports in general, man, I carry with me every day, and I learned way more good than bad. And that state championship gave me the tenacity, anything that was possible.
I'm telling you.
Dadgum, I needed it.
Okay, so we're both dads of boy dads now. Yeah. So here's my question. Do you recommend if a kid really wants to play football, do they go play football?
For sure.
Okay. Because I got a 12-year-old that if I told him he couldn't play now, he would lose his mind.
Well, that may be absolutely. And I've thought about this answer. I've thought about, I'm not going to push Hawk to really do anything. I'm going to push him to make good decisions, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And, you do a great job at that, by the way. We've been on the lake together. But, if he's into golf and, jiu-jitsu, then that's what I want him to be into. But,
right.
If he's into, dance and skateboarding, then.
Although I look around your place and there's not a lot of good skateboarding places, unless they got like a four-wheel drive
Well,
skateboard.
I can pour concrete now.
Yeah.
I've poured many yards.
Well, I'm sure you have. And actually, we've talked about that a lot. You've done a lot of different kind of jobs through the years. And actually, you told me some interesting story about mowing yards and stuff when you were in high school, right? Mm-hmm. Like you had a business, right?
Yeah, we had about my cousin still runs it.
Still runs it.
It's still full on, grass mowing and maintenance, and he's doing some install too. So it's even gotten bigger. But for me, man, I just always wanted a job.
Yeah.
Even when I was probably around 10 or 11. It was when Carhartts are still a big part of me, but Carhartt pants, boots, and I wanted a pocket knife, and all of my heroes had them, and I wanted a job, and I went and got a job at D&S Grocery at 13 years old, and got paid $5 an hour from Shorty Godfrey. Shout out to them, the Godfreys in Hokes Bluff, and I refilled the ice machine and restocked shelves and stuff like that, and pumped gas, and I didn't keep that job long because I realized that $5 an hour that I had a yard, in that yard, I think I charged $25 for it, and it took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And man, I got one of the first walk behind Skags with an 18 horsepower Kohler on it,
nice.
Engine. And my dad went in on it, and he worked at Goodyear, and he went in with me and signed and made me borrow the money, and we could have bought that for $200, something like that. But I remember my first yard, and getting in the back gate and getting it done. It was $35.
Yeah.
And I just went, my dad said, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd go through the church directory, because Dad was a deacon, had a
Oh yeah, there you go.
Impeccable reputation in the church. And I went through all the old ladies that were, he was like, Miss Horton, she's widowed.
Yeah, she doesn't have,
she might need a little help.
Yeah.
And he made me, he made me evaluate. He's like, it's not all about making money. It's about helping these people too. But you got to balance that.
Right, you do.
In business.
Yeah, you can't go around mowing everybody's yard for nothing just to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
You got to.
So that turned into, by the time I graduated high school, that was 15, I was doing that. I had a 2-inch ball on a Honda.
Yeah.
4-wheeler. And I learned how to talk to people and shake their hand. And I learned that if you could get 10 yards in a residential neighborhood, if you get it with the HOAs, you could charge less. It was a lot easier to charge $30 a yard and have them all attached than it was to charge $90 a yard and have one.
Right.
So man, I got in and I just loved it.
Yeah.
I kept my truck clean, my lawnmower blades sharp and them cleaner. And
that doesn't surprise me.
And we went, and it was we did 25 yards a day sometimes. And I had about somewhere around 100 yards by the time I graduated high school. If you do the math on that, the average price was about $40 a yard.
Yeah.
100 yards to a 17-year-old, you couldn't really tell me much,
Yeah. And then still had time to do 2-a-days in the summer. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
My dad worked for me. Dad
well, there you go.
He actually retired early because of that business.
How about that?
And ran it. All my cousins worked with him. Max, Colin, and now Chase owns it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yep.
And actually, you and I, sort of in a roundabout way. No, I probably met Willie after, but we've got a mutual friend, Willie, who has a company that you've started, right? Is that or, that's what I was thinking.
I didn't start that. Actually, Landon Darnell, who my friend Jonathan Harris, I had, long story short, went through 2008. My construction job got fired from it in some capacity. I say fired's a pretty harsh word.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
I needed something that I could chase down Wayne Mills and open up for him and chase down all these people and do opening shows with those guys and actually go do it. And so bush hogging, he was getting out of the bush hogging world. And bush hogging was such a blessing because it was like mowing on steroids,
Yeah.
And I didn't have to cut them on Fridays or Thursdays to keep the stripes in the yard.
Yeah.
And a bad economy was good for bush hogging because it was lots in Franklin and Legends Ridge, and you could charge $75 a lot for the HOAs. And there'd be 50 lots in there. Mm-hmm. And so I just sat on the back of the iron horse, I called it, and I wrote ideas, and I made sure that I had a great farmer stand and was in good shape. And I played the wee hours of the morning, and then I'd wake up at 10 o'clock, my little house in East Nashville, and I'd get on that tractor, and I loved it.
And actually we met, of course, we're both obviously in songwriting and music world, but we met not having something to do with music. It actually had more to do with hunting and tractors and that kind of stuff. So we hit it right off with that. But, so not to go just super chronological, but I'm obviously this show's called Fully Armed and it's based off of Scripture. That's where the idea came from. So I'm always very interested to know how you grew up, faith-wise, in the church, out of the church, what was your story as far as that's concerned?
Yeah. Hokes Bluff, Alabama is about 50 miles north of Birmingham. Its population's about 4,300, maybe up to 4,700 now.
Yeah.
I hear a bunch of different things, but it's nestled right into the bends of the Coosa River and in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. It's absolutely beautiful, crawling with wildlife. And it is, there'd be 7 to 10,000 people Friday nights at our football games. And as you say, and I mentioned again, we won the state championship. It's the only one in history, but we won it. It's there. It's in the record books. But we grew up in that Piggly Wiggly, hanging out in the parking lot.
Me too.
We grew up. Sonic was a big thing for us, and My grandfather was a preacher and also a very good woodsman, very good fisherman.
Oh, I don't think I knew he was a preacher. Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah, my dad's dad.
Right on.
Was a preacher.
Yeah.
And just the whole small church community was huge. We went to Hokes Bluff First Baptist, where my mom and dad still go today.
Oh, okay.
I can still see the blue. Every time I see blue carpet, it gives me peace because, the poplar in my barn is the same is poplar because the poplar in the top of the ceilings of the church.
Great. And your barn's great. I didn't realize that. That's really cool. All right.
So I grew up with this, knowing this vacation Bible school. My dad, I have a phenomenal earthly father.
Yeah.
My dad is a servant to his kids and his family and his wife, and it's just I'm so lucky to have him, and knew the Bible verses, knew the word in I call it a Southern Baptist way, in a small town. Let's drink beer on the weekends and have a good time and understand. And I kind of got beat over the head a little bit, fire and brimstone by you can't drink, you can't this, the Baptist thing with my grandmother, because my grandfather was a bit of a rebel, growing up, and loved Harleys and had tattoos. My grandmother's name was Sue, and he had a tattoo on his right arm that said a heart with Barbara on it. So that was it. He was a rambler.
That's great.
And, he still had that spirit in him, and that's where I'm a rebellious soul.
Yeah.
I'm a nomadic soul, and I question this Bible. I question my faith all the time.
Right.
And I used to be afraid of questioning that faith because maybe that wasn't what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just believe. And then as I grew older and I grew more deeper into the word and deeper into what I am now, I realized that you should question everything in it.
Mm-hmm.
You should question, every single thing, and question why and learn for yourself. I love that John Prine line of move to the country, eat a lot of peaches, try to find Jesus on your own. You got to find Jesus on your own.
Right.
I love the saying, you sleep alone. You go to bed with your wife.
Yeah.
Or your significant other, but you sleep alone.
Right.
You may find your way to Jesus in a Baptist church, but you go to heaven on your own.
Right. And I when you say question, and I agree with you, I just had this conversation with a buddy of mine. We were talking about the living word, right? The living Bible. And the reason that it's called living is because you look at it today and it's one thing, you look at it tomorrow, the exact same thing means something else to you. And that's got a life of its own, just like it would with a relationship with, a friend or whatever. Every day is a different thing. So why not read something, question it, because tomorrow it may mean something very different to you, So I get what you're saying there. So grew up in the First Baptist, right? Mm-hmm. And had that, and we've talked about foundation and the basis, and thankfully we had parents and grandparents that took us in there and showed us, here's where you get started. You spread those roots out, right? And then, especially you and I, we have similar paths in that we start growing out of the ground and we end up in Nashville and all over the world. But no matter how rough things get, you still have those roots dug in there, right? So from Hokes Bluff First Baptist. So
yeah. And I love that place now, and that church is thriving. But I had a thought when you were talking about the questioning thing, and we're songwriters. Mm-hmm. We literally make up stories.
Yeah.
And we come in and literally think it out of thin air. Some of it's true, some of it's not, some of it rhymes, some of it don't.
Yeah.
And we make up stuff, and 40 people wrote the Bible, and it bounced over years and years and years, and it's, you don't think I've questioned that it's only this many years old.
Oh yeah,
and that
I
have a little bit of a Lewis and Clark mentality of like, man, that I've been to New Zealand, I've been to Australia, all over the world 3 times, and seen old things. Like this is not a new thing, but like at the end of my questioning, my faith is, this is what I'm putting my faith in. Like, it's okay to question it. It's okay to think different thoughts. Yeah. It's what you do with those thoughts. But So I wanted to get that out.
Right.
But Hokes Bluff was something that it became stale to me at times in my life. It became monotonous and just playing the same set over and over and over. And, I had to get out and probably raise a little hell to realize how good it was, how good that, and I think that's the whole redemptive story of Christianity and everything else is that grace, and is that you will go astray and you do live through stuff. And, I've got friends that have been the straight and narrow, it seems like their whole life, but they battled other things. Maybe in private, or maybe, which can be even more dangerous. And so very fire and brimstone. Grandmother was like, don't drink, don't have sex, don't think about having sex.
Right.
And that's all I thought about, honestly. And not all, but baseball, football, killing white-tailed deer and ducks, the pretty girl in the front row, and how I could play a guitar to her and maybe get good, because get good at loving her, whatever.
Right.
And write her a song or whatever. And it was that, kind of rambling. I'm proud of that rambler. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the rebel. But God made me that way.
Right.
And he made me somebody that questions. And I'm not somebody that's easy to be around all the time. I push in a lot of different ways, and I'm going to call you out, and people don't necessarily like that.
No, I get it. Not a lot of people do like that. But I love it. And, of course, that's the reason we get along so well. But I guess sometimes that whenever that first thing happens, that somebody might be kind of like, wait a minute, caught off guard. But at the end of the day, man, be you, right? Just shoot it straight. So you mentioned whitetail and ducks. And here's the thing, we've talked a lot through the years, and you and I could sit here and talk about any one of these things for hours. So it's really hard to go, okay, now tell me about hunting right quick and tell me about fishing right quick. So I don't mean to just like scattergun on this stuff, but if we're not careful, me and you will sit here and talk about hunting for the next hour and be like, oh yeah, we were supposed to talk about something else. But you got into deer hunting and that kind of stuff early, I assume, like I did. But how many ducks do you get to shoot at around that part of Alabama?
Well, I mean, I would crawl through, I'd crawl through, excuse my language, I'd crawl through 10 acres of shit to kill a wood duck, one wood duck.
Just one.
Yeah. And honestly, it was because I was so ADD. I'd grown up deer hunting in a 2x4 screwed in between two trees and not seeing any deer.
Yeah. How do you sit in a deer stand for hours?
It's part of the reason I love it. It's the opposite of what you think.
Yeah.
We now are so inundated with people. Oh, you got a dinner here. Alex, we got Rachel and Chris are coming over today to swim. We got, you got a podcast, you got this, you got this, you got this. Ducks are so, I'm going to make up a word, but camaradeable. It's camaraderie. It's like, I have enough camaraderie. I want to go deer hunting because I want to sit by myself.
Right.
Or I want to sit with my dad. Me and my dad sat for like 8 hours one time last year, and I loved it.
Well, that's all about to change for you dramatically too in the next few years.
Right. Because he's going to be, Hawk's going to be right in there with it. But the deer, for me, that's where I see God. I see God in the I'm a bit of a hippie when it comes to thought, and I've ate mushrooms and I've done LSD. I'll say it on this thing. Like my brain's been to different levels of, and I'm glad I did it. Honestly, I'll say that on this thing. Like, I know that's controversial, but man, it opens up another portal. I'm not advocating for it. I'm saying,
no, I get it, that
my connection to the outdoors is my connection to God. God is deer hunting. God is red birds flying right when you need a sign. He is the reason we named Hawk, because we saw a hawk in the backyard, hawks, plural. Yeah. And, we looked up the Christian meaning of seeing a hawk. And did you know that Christian meaning is that you're going the right direction? That you're thinking the right thoughts?
I got to tell you something. then this is crazy. I pulled out of my driveway earlier. Angelo was with me. I didn't say anything, but I thought it. We pulled out of the driveway, and there's this giant hawk sitting on a power line right in front of my driveway. And I glanced at it, and I was like, oh, there's a hawk. And it hit me. I was like, I swear, I thought, I bet that means something. And then, bam, we sit here, and you're like, well, yeah, you've studied on it because your kid's named Hawk, so you know. And it's really interesting that I'm coming to see you, and there's a hawk sitting there. So
God is us talking about that, and you having the presence of mind, in my mind. Mm-hmm. God is you having the presence of mind to notice that.
Yeah.
To notice. If you open your eyes, people are so glued to their phones.
Oh,
There's more good people than bad. I'm not going to get on that.
I know. That's a whole nother topic.
They're so glued to their phones. Like in Germany, do you know that they're putting directions on the cement?
Yeah.
Because people are looking down.
Oh, really?
Looking up. And when you go out into the nature, especially if you take somebody that hasn't been out there, you realize that they don't ever look at 360 degrees.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a mountain line right there.
Right there, right.
You better look.
Yeah.
And that's why I like what in our profession, everything's catering. Hey, walk this way, sheep. Walk over here. Oh, it's time to go on. 3, 2,
right.
Dance, monkey.
Right.
And I like monkeys. I like that. No, by the way, I like that part. But man, out there, if I make a mistake, the animal don't care.
Right.
That's God.
Yeah.
That God goes, I'm in control.
Yeah.
You're not in control.
There's one thing I always like to think about when I'm talking about hunting and fishing, and that is that every time that I put bait on the hook, I expect to catch a fish. Wonder where I got that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. I'll tell you. We did a show together. I opened for Drake. It's been a few weeks ago, and my kids were there, and they watched your show. And I sat and watched your show, and so the next day we hang out. We're fishing. And Hayes, my oldest, says, you were with us. He goes, I always like to think that every time I bait the hook, I'm going to catch a fish. And I'm like, oh, yeah, where'd you hear that? It's because
I say at my shows, and it comes from my grandfather. He was, as weirdly as this sounds, he was what do you call a baseball player when they wear their same socks over and over and over?
Oh, he's superstitious.
He was a superstitious preacher in a way. He was superstitious about fishing rods and guns and like you just didn't mess with it.
Yeah.
Like he was very, very adamant about siding it in and stacking the odds in your favor because you're dealing with a very keen animal. He used to say, a deer's a deer 365 days a year.
Yeah.
So why should you come out here 44 and have the gear? And I would just look at him and be like, I don't know what that means yet.
Yeah.
But I do now.
Yeah.
He used to sharpen his broadheads. I'd be like, man, that's pretty technical.
Right.
But if he gets that shot, that's stacking the odds.
Yeah.
So what you're referring to, the show is going on. And we go into one of our, Leith Lofton wrote this with me. He's a great godly man. I love Leith.
Yeah.
And we wrote this song called 50 Years Too Late. And before that, you're looking at somebody that can grow his own tomato, make his own tomato sandwich, run a trot line, and catch his own fish. And by the way, the optimism comes from when you bait your hook. If you throw that worm, spinnerbait, whatever, in the water, your intentions are to be ready. Keep your rod tip up.
Yeah.
Act like you're going to catch a fish even when you go with Chris and don't, you know?
It was a bad time of year. Anyways,
okay. But I caught a fish.
You did catch one. I wasn't going to bring that up, the fact that we fished all day and we caught one fish.
And the other thing is, this is not I don't like necessarily when people just self-deprecate to do it.
Yeah.
But like the outdoors is so humbling.
Oh my gosh.
And the fact, like you've missed tons.
Oh yeah.
I've missed. And as soon as, like, I never missed when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like I always, because I didn't have anything in my head.
Yeah, man.
And now I've missed a couple of, times.
Yeah. You're going to miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I was going with this other than like, oh, keep your rod tip up. Like the intention has to be there. And it just centers me back into like that 7-year-old that's catching yellow bellies or bluegills on Cove Creek banks. Man, when you throw that line in, have faith that you're going to catch a fish.
Right.
When I write a song, have faith that song's going to go. I am what I say I am. You know, I'm tough.
Yeah.
Because I've always said I was tough.
Right.
I'm a good writer because I think I am.
Yeah.
You know, and God put that in my head.
Yeah. I could go on about tough. Yes. And it's funny because as a man, you know, like a testosterone filled man, if another guy says he's tough, well, a lot of times the other guy will be like, oh yeah. But I got to say, I've seen you're tough, and it's great, man. And it's a different kind of tough. You know, we're not going to sit here and talk about, you know, like I can lift this or I can kill that or whatever. I've seen mental toughness and spiritual toughness from you that I haven't seen out of many other people. So, I mean, I know you're not fishing for that, but I want to say it. And that kind of leads me to this next thing I was going to ask you about. So we'll get into AVM. I know we'll talk a little bit about that, but, and I remember that so well, man, when I got the information about your, you know, what happened with you. Yeah. But I want to tie it into hunting, and here's why. You can explain more about, you know, what you've been through with your situation. But I want to talk about stroker. And the reason I want to talk about that is that I remember that I don't even know if you thought about the fact of how inspiring that situation was while you're going through what you were going through. But anyways, I'll defer to you.
As a father, everything that we go through, you know, Jocko, one of my favorite guys, he's an ex-Navy SEAL. He gets in this thing where it's something bad, perceived bad happens. He's gotten to a habit where he says, good.
Right. Oh, like good. I'm glad that happened.
I'm glad it happened because I know what you getting dropped from that record deal a long time ago, me getting dropped from 2 record deals. I know it put a drive in us, right? And it pushed us around this RV, you know? Yeah. What, like paying attention to the hawks, paying attention to the signs of where God's trying to push you. That's why this is so important to have this as your North Star, your thing, because there's so many things you can put it in. Why not put it in the proven gospel? You know, and so the stroke for me now, and I'll just go ahead. You know, I suffered a hemorrhagic stroke on stage in Roanoke, Virginia. Yeah. For everybody out there listening, August the 16th of 2019. It was due to an AVM, arterial venous malformation, that was in the right side of my brain. It's the size of a lime right here behind my right ear. Yeah. And there was a 2% chance of it rupturing, and that 2% chance went down every successful embolization surgery that occurred. He needed 7 to get this thing fully embolized. Right. Well, I'm skipping over a bunch of stuff, but we would go, they'd run a catheter up my femoral artery into the back of my brain and squeeze this stuff called onyx and glue this AVM because it was in the part of my brain that I didn't need it. Yeah. And it was taking away blood flow from my brain. Yeah. And, you know, honestly, when I heard that, I was like, man, I've been doing pretty good with inadequate blood flow. Maybe I could play like cowboy, you know, maybe I can play steel. Or I can play piano, you know, when I get adequate blood flow. That's a true test of an optimist.
Right. It is.
Are you going to be optimistic through that? Yeah. And we were 4 surgeries in, man, and 40 shows in. It was August. We got that diagnosis in January.
Oh, yeah.
So less than 1% chance of it rupturing. And take the stage in Roanoke, Virginia, and it ruptured.
Oh, I remember.
And it paralyzed my left side, and it started this journey 5 years ago that I'm still on now. You know, I still have a little bit of a limp, and I have some fun with that limp about shark attacks and bear attacks and stuff like that because I'm a storyteller. Right. But I've learned I can honestly sit here and say I'm glad it happened. Yeah. because it's made me a more empathetic person. It's made me dive into this more. It's made me a better writer. You know, it's made me a better artist. You know, I haven't sold out Madison Square Garden 3 nights in a row, but I will.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt, because I had to have faith that my left hand would move when all the doctors said that I may never walk again.
Right.
I knew that I would walk
right.
again. And that's faith.
Yeah.
That's the faith. It don't matter if you question the, you know, what's being said by, you know, what Paul's going through in Acts, or if you're questioning the Old Testament with Job, you know,
right.
question it.
Yeah.
But I have faith in this. I have faith that I would walk again.
Yeah.
And so I'm feeling sorry for myself on a walker with tennis balls on it, you know, the kind. And I've been at home maybe 2 months, and Alex's brother, who's a great dude, and he's a poker. He likes to poke at me, but he can't poke at me too much because I sleep with his sister, you know.
Yeah.
You can't poke at a dude.
You gotta be careful,
sister.
right? Yeah.
So he's like, why don't you put a game camera up back here? I said, well, I can't go down there and kill it. I'm in a wheelchair.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, well, so you could see what God knew what he was doing. He knows how to get to me. You can get to me by a good song.
Yeah.
Something, a deer.
A challenge. Yeah.
Give me a challenge.
Yeah.
2 days later, I'm just like, all right, he gets it set up down there, and we get it going, and bing, my phone goes off. I look at it, and there's 170-inch deer down there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember seeing the pictures pretty quickly after you saw.
I'm like, what the? I mean, it's right here.
Yeah.
Right behind my house.
Yeah.
We're at my house right now. Like,
that's right. Yeah.
that's
Thanks,
one of the
Judy.
cool things about Judy, him pulling up in the house. Like, I didn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
For those of y'all that don't know what a 170-inch deer, 150-inch Boone and Crockett, the scale is Boone and Crockett or Pope and Young. Boone and Crockett is a rifle. Pope and Young is a bow.
Yeah.
150-inch deer is like Bambi's dad.
Right.
That's a great. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
170-inch deer is like Bambi's dad. Yeah, bigger.
It's like an elk that forgot to be an elk.
It's huge, and it's 50 yards behind my. And God knew what he was doing. So I go to my. Shout out to Griffin Moore, my PT guy, who'd been working with me, and I said, we're learning how to walk again. That's what we're doing.
Right.
And I said, hey man, he's a hunter. I said, we got to learn how to climb a ladder. And he looked at me like I had 3 heads, and I go, hold on.
Yeah.
And he goes, we got to learn how to climb a ladder.
Yeah. Got to get up in a ladder stand.
So Ty Carey helped me set up a ladder stand right here.
Yeah.
And Alex stood at the bottom. We worked on a Versa climber for weeks.
Yeah.
Because I had a couple of months, and you know that velvet season was coming in.
Oh yeah.
And dude, Alex got up before daylight with me and walked down there, helped me down there to the foot. And it took me 45 minutes to climb an 8-foot ladder.
Yeah. By the way, Alex is an angel that was put on earth and that Drake just somehow ran into and married. So anyways, yeah, go ahead.
And I have told that story, and I'm in the process of capturing that story even more. We're going to produce a full-length documentary on it.
Oh, that's great.
And it's called Ladder to the Sky, which is another song I wrote.
Yeah.
This episode will be, and because hunting, you don't have to agree with hunting. You don't have to, you know. I would disagree with you, but hunting healed me.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that deer healed me.
Yeah.
And that was, God knew how he could do that.
Yeah.
And I literally watched plasticity. I watched neurogenesis happen around my brain that made my hands better, made my feet better, because I had to get up in that ladder.
Yeah.
And so
that's awesome.
45 minutes later, I'm sweating, and I never kill that deer.
And that's what I was going to say. The great thing about this story and about coordination with the Bible and life and hunting is that deer was so motivating, but he's still, as far as we know, he's out there. He's 180 now, 190.
Yeah, he's a good bit older now.
Yeah, that'd be quite a bit older, but still.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and the stories and the songs that came out of all that.
Yeah.
The things that writers write, and I mean, we have an idea, 2 or 3 ideas a day that pop out, and
well, I got to say this too, and I'm jumping around, but
no, do it.
That Hurts the Healing, I'll never forget. That's one of those, I remember where I was the first time I heard it. And I think probably because of my relationship with you, but the first time I heard it, I was like, daggone, man, that is strong right there. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Maybe in the worst, I've got a feeling, and I don't like quoting my own songs.
No,
it's
I get
it. It just was such, songs have the tendency in it, you've heard it a million times, to heal. But man, God knew I needed that song so bad.
Yeah.
And it was, I'll tell a little bit of a story. I called my publisher and I said, man, I've had this stroke and I've got this great muse. Would you please get me some rights? He said, Drake, the pandemic set in.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to write on Zoom? And I said, man, I'll write in smoke signals.
Sure. Yeah. Whatever you got to do.
Your perception changes.
Yeah.
And what he didn't know is that 2 days prior, I had prayed a very rod tip up prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I believed that prayer was going to get answered.
Yeah.
That's another thing, man. When you go through a stroke and being paralyzed at 35 and having to learn to walk again, you learn how to pray with authority. I demanded God get me back on the stage. And people were like, whoa.
Yeah.
I know I did.
Right.
I slammed this Bible on the table and said, I demand in the name of Jesus that you give me my feet back.
Right.
And look, I got to understand that he's sovereign, and somebody may need to see me roll out there on a
I get it.
wheelchair.
Yeah.
I understand that. But I was, where was I going with this?
Well, we were just talking about, you said rod tip up positivity, and as far as.
Oh, the answered prayer. The pandemic had ensued. Nobody's meeting at the publishing houses.
Right.
Would you be willing to write on Zoom? Sure, I'll write in smoke signals.
Yeah.
He didn't realize 2 days, I had prayed just this exact prayer. I've got it written down. I said, Jesus, Lord in heaven, please give me the ability to write from the comfort of my own couch.
Yeah.
Because I can't make it down to Music Row.
Yeah.
2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I only prayed it once.
Yeah.
But I said, in the name of Jesus, I pray, amen. 2 days, he asked me if I wanted to write on
Zoom. Yeah.
I was like, don't know what it is, but it's
you ain't even got to get dressed for that one.
I don't even call it Zoom. I call it Jesus.
Yeah.
It's just, I
Yeah.
didn't have to do anything.
Right.
Very first write was Hurts the Healing.
That's amazing. Great song, man.
Thank you.
So you were speaking of pandemic, and it was an inspiration to me and a lot of people what you did with this. We're sitting right beside your event space, Whitewood Hollow, the barn that you had built, and then you started doing shows in there every Wednesday, right?
Yeah, man. It was just that other rebellious mentality of like, man,
everything's shut down.
Everything's shut down. I've got to play.
Yeah.
I'm not playing for you, the fan. I'm playing because I have to play. I have to play. I have to write.
Right.
What I don't care. They talk about money. The money's great, but there's more failures than successes in this thing. Like, I have to play. So we start on Wednesday night. We set up some phones and turn it on Instagram Live, and TikTok wasn't even a thing back then.
Right.
But we turned it on, all the stuff. And I was very unashamed to go, we have paid so much in medical expenses. I'm going to put my Venmo, my PayPal up there.
Yeah.
Because I played for tips before, and I'd graduated out of that.
Yeah.
I was on a bus. I'd
I
open up with Zach.
Yeah.
But I'm not too good to, I didn't feel like it was begging. A lot of people didn't care.
Yeah.
I needed the money. In the very first night, I think we made about $7,000-8,000.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, we can do this.
Right.
I played 88 Wednesdays. Shout out to Zach Knudsen for helping me put that all together.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I came to a few of them.
Shout out to Angelo over here. Like you can't do it without an Angelo.
No, it's great, man.
You can't do it without a Zach to put all this stuff together because I'm not any good at that.
Yeah.
Don't want to be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And we stuck in there and people told us, oh, it's going a little stale. The numbers are down. Everybody's doing them.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking about this. It started out as a joke, but Eric Church won the ACM for Entertainer of the Year that year, 2020. And I called my manager and I said, before the awards, I said, you should start an award. I should get the Entertainer of the Year. I should be in the running for it.
Right.
I played 88 shows this year.
Who else did that?
No, more than I've played 52. I played every week. And they were just like, at first they were just like, what do you mean? Well, look, they even told me that, hey man, don't worry about doing it every week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it for you.
Right.
I'm doing it for me.
Right.
Because it was something that God put in me and that honestly helped me look forward to something. If you got something to look forward to, if you got hope.
That's a huge deal.
I got something Wednesday.
Yeah.
It may suck on Monday going through this. My back may be twisted and I may have to get help up off the toilet.
Yeah.
But Wednesday I got a show.
Yeah. And what a time that was too, man. You were going through so much and then all of a sudden everybody's going through so much. And it's like, I'm like you, I remember sitting around for the first month going, well, what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I was like, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to book some shows. We're going to do something.
Yep.
And
we're going to be a family. We're going to do this stuff. And, I look back on it and I thank God for that time. I do think it was a shame of why it happened. And I think I'm not above a good conspiracy theory and I won't go down all those rabbit holes.
No, I get it.
But it was just something that good came out of it. More good than bad.
Yeah.
And people would disagree with me on that. But man, we held in there and we made a record out of that.
Yeah.
Jaron Johnston produced it. We got it out. And everybody was like, well, maybe we wait. Nope, I'm not waiting. Put it out. It's called The Optimistic, OPTIMYSTIC.
Right, missed it.
And it's like, I know how to write a song. I put my 10,000, more than that now. And I know how to write a song and I know how to communicate like that. So just do it.
Well,
just do it.
That actually, I didn't mean to really segue into the next thing, but we're talking about writing songs. So Angelo, get prepped to pull this up. We're good to go. So you just released a song and actually you're kind of on fire releasing them right now because you had one that came out a month ago, not even.
Yeah.
And then just a few days ago, Father's Day, by the way, happy belated Father's Day.
Same.
And and you released this next song. So instead of me sitting here explaining it, Angelo, play it. I want to watch the video because while I know you have a lot invested in this video, I got a little bit invested in this video too.
I'll pre it up a little bit for the folks out there. Life, Love, and War, wrote with Andy Sheridan and Eric Dillon, two incredible writers. And I had the title first,
Yeah.
Now, it didn't necessarily have to be about Hawk, but when you have a kid, people ask you a lot, did it change the way you wrote songs?
Yeah.
And as you know, it changed everything. And there's a pressure when you have a boy.
Yeah.
Now I got to teach him about the oil. I got.
Oh yeah, man. Well, there's probably a lot of pressure having a girl too, but neither one of us know anything about
absolutely.
that.
So, I sat in, and this title turned into Life, Love, and War, and just going through. We went through 7 years of infertility with Hawk, and all this controversy around. As we talk about this, that Alabama just went through with the IVF stuff. Like I'm prepared to talk about that. I'm prepared biblically to talk about it.
Yeah.
And
and I'll say this,
he's a miracle.
I knew coming into this that we are going to have, and I meant to call this Drake White Part 1 because there's no question we'll be back over to see you again because we got too much stuff to cover. Yeah. But yes, I remember those struggles, but man, let me tell you something. course, we're going to watch this video, but I got to spend a little time with Hawk, and he's my co-pilot on my boat. But man, what a blessing! Yeah, no question about it. But hit that video, man. Let's watch it. Yeah. Life, Love, and War.
This is called a oneer.
A oneer.
One shot. One camera. One take.
Nice Bronco, by the way.
Oh, thanks, man. That's actually what the host.
One shot. So they just go around.
Yep. There's a preacher's fire in
There's your dad, right?
Yep. David White. Like King Dave. I'm shaking like a Labrador. I've never been a father. I pray my broken back's your stairs and my ceiling is your floor.
He went straight for the bandana.
I hope you walk with Jesus through life, love, and war. His nose like greasy bandana. I'll teach you how.
All right, who we got here?
How to fish and skin a bug. Oh, that's a star right there. That's Gus Hennessy.
Oh, Big August.
So I'd still keep both your thumbs. Hawk. That's Hawk. I hope
Hawk,
you're proud of your last name when other people.
There's the bandana.
And I hope you do good things good and bad things when you have to.
It's great right there.
There's a preacher's fire in your eyes and you smile like your mother. I'm shaking like a Labrador. I've never been a father. I pray my broken back's your stairs and my ceiling is your floor.
There it is.
And I hope you walk with Jesus through life, love, and war.
And then there he is. Is that teenage Hawk? With the bandana.
Shout out to Joseph.
Yeah, that's a sharp kid right there.
Boats and cars and late night bars turn dollars into dimes. Lucky comes and goes, but hard work wins every time. Have fun with the ladies. I hope you find one like I did. 'Cause a good wife and a baby, yeah, this is good as good can get. There's a preacher's fire in your eyes and you smile like your mother. I'm shaking like a Labrador. I've never been a father. I pray my broken back's your stairs and my ceiling is your floor. And I hope you walk with Jesus through life, love, and war.
There he is, back again.
Yes, I hope Benjamin you walk with Jesus through life, love,
there he comes. If you had him a steering wheel, he'd come right back over to you. I know that.
He did so good. You know, it was hot in there. And, I mean, he's only 16 months old. And he's rambunctious.
That's all one shot, just going in a circle. And
he's directing people, pushing them around. It was amazing.
That is unbelievable. So let me make a few comments about that. The main thing I thought about after having listened to it, I don't know, 500 times the day that it was put out, was I started thinking of a few different songs. I started thinking of Good Old Boys Like Me. I even thought of our old buddy Jamie Johnson's In Color. Mm-hmm. And then this song is my newest entry into the songs I wish that I would have written.
Oh, yeah.
Because, man, there's some stuff in there. I mean, it's chilling. It's really good, man. So one line in particular, I love a lot of the lines in it. You know, do bad things when you have to. But, man, the one line that stuck out to me, and I'm talking about the second I heard it. And we're songwriters, right? So, and I just got to be honest, it's seldom, you know, that I'll hear a line and be like, oh, because we've just heard and written so many things through the years, you know. Yeah. But, man, when I heard I pray my broken back's your stairs and my ceiling is your floor, man, hair stood up. I was like, that's so good. You know, anyways, great song. Very good. Now, who'd you write that with again?
Andy Sheridan and Eric Dillon.
And Eric Dillon, okay.
Man, unbelievable writers. I mean, you know, co-writing's such a cool thing, and sometimes you may have the golden ticket that day, and sometimes they may have it.
Oh, yeah.
And that day, it seemed like we all just we're all fathers. Actually, Eric Dillon's son's name's Hawk.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. And he's just an unbelievable human being. And man, we just kind of all had it when we sunk in to, I was like, it's an advice song, man.
It is.
And we wrote a bunch of verses and picked the best verses.
I love doing that.
It was a very quick thing.
Well, one thing I love about that song too is the production. Is that something you did with Jonathan, or is it?
Oh, I love that you said that, because it is so minimalistic.
It is. It's an acoustic or two. Yeah.
We Jonathan's got a 49 Gibson that's just it's a masterpiece.
That's a monster, yeah.
And he was playing that. We went to Mississippi, outside of Corinth, Mississippi, to record this record, and I got Jonathan and the band for 5 days by myself.
Oh, that's awesome.
He sets it up, and they set the things up. And,
Jonathan Singleton, by the way. We keep saying Jonathan.
And he starts playing it, and I just eased in there and started singing it. And that's if I'm not mistaken, we may have done it twice, but I think that's the first.
Right.
And I'll tell you this. They've said my whole career, man, if you could capture what Drake White does live, you'd have it. Blah, blah, blah. Well, through all the process, after we recorded it, I listened to it and I said, do not touch that recording.
Right.
I want the chair squeaking. And Jonathan was like, I'm with you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I want the fingers on the strings. I want everything. Don't master it.
Yeah.
Don't do anything. And that's that.
Yeah.
That's what the song is.
Man, it's great. And, like I said, I'm a little partial to it because it's got Big August in there as the middle.
He killed it.
The middle one. Yeah.
Very coachable. I gave you an update after it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's well-mannered, I hope, anyway.
For sure.
So, all right. So look, this is early on in the career of the armored car Judy, AKA Judy. So we're still kind of figuring stuff out as we go. And so the one thing that I have made sure that I point out is that I am not a preacher in no way, shape, or form. I'm not a scholar. I am learning the Bible as I go.
Hey. And
so, but one of the driving forces in Fully Armed was to reach out to guests and say, what is your go-to? What verse arms you? So when I ask you, and you gave me the heads up that it is, well, you know what? I'll just let you tell me what it was that you came up with.
Yeah. Well, I didn't come up with it. Like, it's been mine for a very long time. I think around college, when I faced some stuff and got along, I think the Galatians 5:16 has always, it's just always stood out to me. And the reason it stood out to me is because the spirit is what we're talking about with these hawks, with the outdoors, paying attention to 365 degrees of what's going on in creation, to look for signs of which way to go.
Right.
Hey, help me, Lord. This is through the music industry, through meeting my wife. That was really hard. We had to make some hard decisions to be together.
Yeah.
Different podcasts. But these hard things, this 5:16 sticks out to me. And, it says, but I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the desires of the flesh are against the Spirit, and the desires of the Spirit are against the flesh. For these are opposed to each other to keep you from doing the things you want to do. And I'll stop there.
Yeah.
I'll read it again because
read it again.
But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the desires of the flesh are against the Spirit, and the desires of the Spirit are against the flesh. For these are opposed to each other to keep you from doing the things you want to do.
That's Paul.
That's
speaking
Paul.
to Galatians.
Speaking to all these people they were basically call them, maybe the Jewish people that were so ingrained in the Torah,
Right.
everything. And I think about this all the time.
Yeah.
What if you're 60 years old and you've been teaching by the Torah, all this, and this new age guy comes out named Jesus of Nazareth?
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do, man. I don't know what I would do.
Your mom and dad and your grandparents told you this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now here's this guy. So like, I just don't, I want to be honest with that. But what I love about this is I believe that guilt is of the devil. And a lot of times, like, especially in the Southern Baptist world, guilt is something that has been used to hang over people's heads, and they can't ever get out of it.
Yeah.
So I looked at this scripture early in my God career, not career, but you know what I mean. Like in my walk, and I said, I'm not going to feel guilty for wanting to have sex with the head cheerleader or whatever. I'm not going to feel like that was my rebellious nature. I'm not going to feel. I want to drink a beer.
Was it because God made me this way? Like, is that what you're?
It was. It's not of God in my mind. How I deal with it to this day. Like everybody deals with thoughts. Everybody deals with sin.
Flesh.
Everybody deals with flesh. So it just this verse taught me to focus on the Spirit, stay in the Spirit. The Spirit is good. The Spirit is good feelings. The Spirit is good thoughts. The Spirit is this. It's never a negative. It never is a negative.
No, because it says, Scriptural that the fruits of Him are not those negative things.
But
that comes from.
Yes. A lot of times when dealing with the Spirit, they go, oh, you need to tell your buddy that those pills he's taking are going to kill him. And he's high right now, and I want you to call it out.
Yeah.
So that's the storm. That's a hard thing to confront on a Friday night when everybody's having fun.
That's right. Yeah.
Hey, bro, you're high.
Right.
You're going down this wrong path. That ruins my sister's awesome. She battled addiction. I don't think she mind me saying, and she's doing great now. Well, we used to say, do you want to ruin Christmas by calling it out? And you know very well what I'm talking about.
Oh, I do. Yeah. I don't care to say it also. We lost my sister to drug addiction. So
I know parents that would love to lose a Christmas if they still had their kid.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so I've always been the one to call it out. And that's what this walk in the Spirit, listen to the Spirit.
Yeah.
Don't listen to, I'm not trying to get political, but turn the news off.
Oh, there's nothing. Yeah, I'm with you there.
That's the media. That's owned by, other people trying to make money and everything else.
Well, I agree. And I wanted to say, and one thing I love about this is that when I get a verse from you, I go in and study it. Next thing I know, I'm studying the Bible from a different perspective than what I would normally be led to do. So I got to looking into this chapter in Galatians, and I jump up to verse 5. So it's Paul, right? And he's writing to the Galatians, and he says, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. That's great right there by itself. So stand firm, which is part of Ephesians 6, with the put on the full armor. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. So we're talking about the Spirit frees you. So then it goes on, and it's great. Mark my words, I, Paul, tell you that if you let yourselves be circumcised, Christ will be of no value to you at all. Again, I declare every man who lets himself be circumcised that he is obligated to obey the whole law. Now that gets into Scripture, Old Testament, New Testament stuff, which again is a whole nother podcast. It says, you who are trying to be justified by the law have been alienated from Christ. Interesting. You have fallen away from grace. For through the Spirit, we eagerly await by faith the righteousness for which we hope. For in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision has any value, The only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. And then the next thing you read is what you just read, which is, it's great that they tie together. But man, when I said read, the only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. So it says circumcision or uncircumcision doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He is what matters. And then it goes on to talk about the Spirit, right? It's pretty interesting. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. And when you were reading that, it became so clear to me that it's black and white. It's flesh, it's spirit. Like the two aren't, woven together. If you're living by the Spirit, you're avoiding, the flesh. So anyways,
we have to understand that Paul's approaching the Galatians frustrated because this is post crucifixion.
Right.
And he's saying that all of this Torah stuff changed because the Messiah has come.
He's come, right?
He's come.
Yeah.
And he's here. And that's what his faith was in. So people that were still holding on to the same thing, I commend his faith, and all the apostles and, disciples, because I don't know, I'm not sure. I would love to think that I would have the faith, but.
Well, we've had this conversation before. Now, the one thing they did have that we don't have is Paul saw him, right? Yeah. And he was blinded by him.
Yeah.
And then the disciples, they saw the miracles. They saw what he did.
Yeah.
And I often think
still wanted to hold on.
And
to
they
Torah.
still did. Now they fought a good fight. Don't get me wrong. All of them pretty much martyred when it was all said and done.
They're still fighting a good fight.
And right. But then I even go back to, okay, so God parted waters and he took all these people through the waters and then closed them back. And within days, they're already worshiping a golden cow. It's like, what is going on with us, man? So it's flesh and spirit, right? We're trying to find the things in life that make us feel better about ourselves, right? So, man, that's strong.
Yeah. I've got it etched out in a metal sign above in our room.
Yeah.
It just says walk in the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always stood out to me. And what this is marching towards the fruits of the Spirit.
Right.
And all it is telling us how to love one another.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. And love one another as Christ loved the church is what it says. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your walk. That's some pretty good truth to live by.
Right.
It
is. Well,
patience, kindness. I love the last one is self-control.
Yeah.
Because in 2024 that's a tough one for Americans.
It is. And I'm not
for anybody.
I guarantee you that if we live to be 90, we're still going to be fighting that every day.
I mean, these diet drinks, man.
Oh, here we go. We're going to talk about that. Yeah. I mean, again, it's interesting we talk about food or drink because a lot of times you blow that stuff off like it's only flesh.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that when Jesus, is resurrected and then reveals himself, like one of the first things he does is sits down and eats. Mm-hmm. And it's like, man, my man wanted to have that pleasure of eating,
Yeah.
So that's just another thing that we got to struggle with. But I also think that as we do begin the journey into the book and we do begin the journey away from flesh and into spirit, it can be a very interesting and a lot of twists and turns in that journey. And it can be tough. It can be really difficult. But I think that as we get a little further on into that journey, we do start he reveals things to us that we may not have seen yesterday or last year. And that a lot of times that food ends up being one of those things that on down the road, you go, okay, yeah, it's not just sustenance, it's actually got some spiritual value to it. So it's interesting. Well, I am so glad we got to sit here and talk about the Bible. I'm so glad that we got to talk about old times, and I'm so glad we got to watch the video and check out your new song. I'm trying to think. Oh, I will say this before we go. Last year, you and I did a Charlie Daniels tribute, and you got up and you sang the absolute hardest Charlie Daniels song that there is.
Yeah, you really got me on that.
I did get you on that one, but
I was like, oh yeah, I know that song.
that to my credit, you go, oh, I got it. That'll be great. So, yeah. So
but tell them what the song is.
So it's Woolly Swamp, Legend of Woolly Swamp.
And it's a story song with 5 verses. And it's not, melody does not, you can't know the melody and be like, just go through it. You got to know the story.
You do.
And you know it in your CJ5 cruising down the road.
Absolutely.
But when you're singing it in front of other people, you got to know all 5 verses.
I agree. And I didn't want nothing to do with that one, even though, like you said,
it was a horrible, horrible decision.
It was not. It was great. It ended up awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I once I did it, I'm happy about the performance.
Yeah.
But I do not like feeling like I'm back in 7th grade science or history.
Not on stage.
And dude, that's exactly how you feel. 7th grade history.
Yeah.
We the People. I mean, it's literally memorizing We the People.
Yeah.
The preamble.
Listen, you're preaching to the choir. As you know, I was on the road with Jamie Johnson for 12 years and trying to sing background harmonies with a guy who doesn't know what he's going to sing next in the chorus. I mean, he knows, but he's going to change it up. And I think half the time he was doing it just to mess with me. Yeah. Probably more than half the time. So I get what you're saying. But I will say that August 28th, 3rd and Lindsley in Nashville, 2024, we're doing Marshall Tucker Band tribute. You're going to be with us, and you kind of got to pick. We're not going to make you do a song with a whole bunch of different words in it.
Well, I like the songs.
Yeah.
Now.
So, yeah, we're good there. But
I want to mention one more other thing too. I love doing that, but out of all of the, thanks for letting me talk about all this stuff, and the stroke seemed like the end of the line for me for a second, and then the benefit for the brain that you were able to come to. We
were going to talk about benefit for the brain, right? Yeah.
What I've realized is becoming my own advocate through the benefit for the brain, through the stroke, the pandemic, and everything. Like, I love doctors. Doctors saved my life, and I mean, so this is not a punt towards them. It's just back to the spirit. Whatever your gut and your spirit is telling you, like, follow that thing. Whether it be going here to get this treatment, or man, I'm going to try this older treatment that's been practiced for 4,000 or 5,000 years, whatever it is that pops up, follow it, because that's what brought me into selling the Ryman out and getting Jamie and Riley Green and Randy Hauser up, and we raised about, I can't remember how much we raised, but it was significant. It was, $250,000, I think, for, Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is giving kids with brain injuries.
Right.
We focus towards them, towards CPI, which is the guys that helped me do a lot of stuff out of Tijuana, Mexico. It's an amazing organization, and that's why I'm saying becoming your own advocate and really getting in out of the headlines of what's the trigger headlines,
right,
and figuring out what things are really about. What the Southern Baptist Convention was actually trying to say about the IVF, what people are actually trying to say about stem cells, and make your decision on your own of what is right and what is wrong and what this word says.
Right.
And I found my peace with it. And I'm not saying you can't justify everything and make everything, guys. That's when you get in trouble. Where am I going? I'm just saying something that seemed bad flipped over, and now we're doing benefit for the brain.
Right.
And it's not dedicated to the battle between your ears. And we've been doing that. I don't know why I felt led to end this with that, but like, it's about flipping things and making them good. Now I'm speaking, Tim Tebow's became a friend, and I'm speaking to people about overcoming adversity. And
right.
I never wanted to be Tony Robbins, but man, God's given me a platform now and I have the authority to speak because I came through the other side of it, and I'm still here. I'm still doing it. I haven't quit. And that's all it is. And so any kind of opportunities that people get to come see me, or people get to come see a show or a speaking engagement, or this podcast, like this podcast is going to, it's blessed, it's anointed, and so I just would appreciate people coming out, and I appreciate people listening.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you a few more things like that. I'm glad you brought that up. Do you have a date set for another, like the second annual benefit for the brain?
I think we're probably going to do it Q1 of next year.
Okay.
Dang, would that be 2025?
25, baby.
Yeah, that's
would you try to do it at the Ryman again, or just you figure it out?
It's kind of like the living thing. You're like, whoever, the Ryman's obviously great.
Yeah.
That's where it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It doesn't have to be at the Ryman. I love the Ryman, and I'm led to it. But if it ends up being at somewhere else,
yeah,
it'd be really cool to do it in McMinnville at that.
Oh, in the cave.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, that would be cool. What kind of venue? What's seating there? I don't even know.
I think 1,500.
That's crazy that they can get that many people in
Maybe more.
A place like that. That's
Maybe
nuts. And what about tour? Matter of fact, you're about to go on the road with our old bearded buddy Jamie Johnson very soon. Yeah,
country music wizard.
Yeah.
No, we are super excited. We start that. I don't know when this airs, but we start that very soon.
Yeah.
I think we got a dozen or so shows with him, and he's always been one of my favorites as far as authenticity and writing, and just, his no is his no, his yes is his yes. And it's a breath of fresh air. He's not, he's a different dude. Everybody knows that, but I'm excited to be with who I think is one of the best, if not the best.
Yeah. Actually, one of the first times we met, I think I'd met you once before this, but we did New Year's Eve, Montgomery.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know when it would have been. It was early.
It would have been 20.
Was it
14?
13 or 14 is what I was thinking. Yeah, it's been at least 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. But you guys go check out Drake on the road, going to be with Jamie, and he's also got a bunch of other shows coming up after that, probably a few before that too.
We got a fall tour. We're going to go west of the Mississippi, so we're going to be all over there. We're going to try to land the ship at somewhere around 100 shows, and we're about 50, 60 in right now. So, we're rocking. Got a new record coming out. We're in the process of releasing what they call the waterfall effect.
Oh, I get it.
It's you release a song, give it a couple of months, release another song, give it a couple of months, and then we're going to release a whole record in September.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, are you going to do another single with the record release that's coming up, or probably just...
Yeah, very aptly to this podcast, it's called Faith.
Okay, great.
Not the George Michael Faith, but I do like that song.
Yeah, I'd love to hear you do a version of that.
We used to do it all the time.
Listen, speaking of which, guys, Drake White Show, you got to go see it. So much energy, so well put together. And man, it's a blessing. It's not just like, we went and heard some music. It's almost like a church experience along with a country music show.
Yeah, I say people come to live music events for a lot of different reasons, you know, and for us, it's like a church you can drink beer and whiskey at, which is my kind of church, honestly. But it's one of these places. It's turned into this thing. Like, I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about the infertility issues. I'm going to talk about the hurts, the healing. I'm going to sing "Mix 'Em with Whiskey" because sometimes that's all I knew to do.
Right.
And I'm going to talk about, all the stuff. And you leave there. I leave there fulfilled. I leave there, we do meet and greets before, we do them after. And I think people are leaving there almost with like a revival sense of like, there's more good people than bad.
Yeah.
And it's not just me pushing that, it's bigger than me. It's the whole movement of things, and I wanted to leave this. I was just talking to my social media manager before I jumped in here. Did you know that there's a large percentage of fathers are the numbers are pretty staggering. Since post-pandemic, the involvement of fathers in their kids' life have drastically rose. The involvement of think about your life.
Yeah.
And you made that decision.
Right.
But it's nationwide right now.
As you were
are becoming more. That is news you won't hear.
Yeah. As you were saying it, I was thinking he's going to say rise. I just had a feeling that there was something that happened in that time frame, and it got spun so super negative throughout all of, media. But then I feel like guys like us were like, no, it's just another hurdle in life.
Yeah. Well, followers aren't surprised by any of this. If
not
you
at all.
You're not reading this.
That's exactly right.
It's predicted all of this.
Yeah.
Nothing's unprecedented. Nothing is. It says, "Do not fear," 365 times in this Bible.
Yeah.
And the calendar, the calendar's weird because it should be a 28-day month. It should be like they messed our calendar up to mess us up. Whoever they is, I don't know.
Right.
But do not fear. I'm not afraid of the election.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of who's going to run the country because the man upstairs is running it all.
Yeah.
And I wrote this with Dean Dillon the other day, not to name drop.
Oh, yeah.
But I wrote, it's all going to be all right in the end, so it ain't the end if it ain't all right.
There you go. That sounds very you and Dean, matter of fact.
It's so true to me. So I love leaving we have 130 opportunities going to these cities a year, 130 cities. And we see and shake people's hands everywhere. Right. And there's more good people than bad.
Yeah.
The news, you're not going to see that. Go get out.
No, it's spun just the opposite if you pay too much attention to media.
Fear mongering, man.
Yeah. But man, we see it. Like you go out and you literally see it, Well, I will say this before we shut down. I'm very new to this. And so thank you so much for taking the opportunity and the chance to,
my pleasure,
to
great.
Because we're figuring it out, but again, Drake White, y'all go see him out on the road. You'll be blessed by it. All right. That was Drake White. Man, inspirational. That song, so great, man. And I meant it when I said that. The first time that my wife and I sat and listened to this song, well, actually, Drake was playing it for us before we put it out, and man, it had that one line in it that my broken back be your stairs, and my ceiling be your floor. Strong, man. That just got me. And I got 2 kids, 2 boys, so that was just a strong song, and it was at a good time too. Like it came out Father's Day. My dad passed away a couple weeks ago, and right before that, and it really hit me strongly. But so Drake's verse was Galatians chapter 5, verse 16. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. So this again is Paul speaking to the Galatians and just giving them instructions. And it's funny because, man, these are all new Christians, and heck, I am too. I mean, I've been a Christian for over 40 years, but I'm still new to it. Every day is new. Every day I learn something new, and learned a lot from this conversation with Drake. So, not gratifying the desires of the flesh is going against nature. So the Spirit is within, but we're not born into the Spirit. We are born into the flesh. We are born as infants and as toddlers and as kids, just trying to think of ourselves and for self-preservation. So we're already off the bat trying to gratify the desires of the flesh. So when we entertain the Spirit and we do confess Jesus and we are saved, and if we will allow it to happen, we do begin to let Him reveal to us slowly but surely the ways that the flesh is pulling us down. So I know it's very simple what it says. Walk by the Spirit, and you won't gratify the desires of the flesh. It seems easy enough. But as you go through your daily life, it's tricky. It's really tough. So I appreciate Drake showing up to the show. I appreciate him talking to us. I guarantee you that we will be doing Drake White Part 2 and Part 3, and we may have some other guests on with the two of us. That's what I'm hopeful for. But again, just super glad that he came and joined us, talked about Galatians chapter 5, verse 16. That was the episode for the day, Drake White. I love you, Drake, and I love all you guys. Thanks for listening to Fully Armed, and we'll see you next time. Put on your armor.